Kyla, next note here. You say it's sort of wrong for a man to dump his girlfriend if she regularly turns him down for sex. You also, Kelly, you also agree with that if the girlfriend or wife regularly turns him down for sex, wrong for him to dump them in that. Why is that? Here, why don't we start with Kelly, then we'll go to Kyla.
I think the pressure of having to engage in sexual activity shouldn't rely so much on the destiny of a relationship. Like, I feel it's not fair, essentially. Like, if a woman just doesn't want to have sex all the time, but she's still like having sex, like, it's not like all the time, and the guy is not feeling satisfied and is putting pressure and it's putting the whole relationship in jeopardy because of that one sole aspect, I think it's very shallow.
Okay, very shallow.
There's so much more to a relationship than sex. So much more.
Would you yourself be in an asexual relationship?
No.
Well, that's rather
Why are you
shallow.
asking that? Why are you asking that?
Well, you're saying that. So, I mean, I agree with you that there's more to a relationship than just sex. Absolutely. But it's just kind of interesting. You yourself. Well, I guess it's not a.
What priority, I guess, would be a good question. Like, if we all agree that a relationship is composed of various aspects, if sex, I would say most people argue that it's a fairly important, depending on their age, aspect. So what level of importance in like 1 to 10 is regular sex?
I would say like the top 3, but it shouldn't determine the destiny of a relationship. I don't think it's fair.
I have a follow-up question. If a girlfriend of yours came to you and said, I'm dating this guy, things are otherwise pretty good, but I want to have sex and he's not giving me sex, and she was contemplating breaking up with him, would you? Oh,
like, definitely say that's not okay. Like, you should have a conversation with him.
Consistent.
You should be at least having a conversation, mention it, and then if you are able to work through it and try to...
What does working through it look like, though, when one person, whether man or woman, wants to have a higher frequency of sex in a relationship and the other doesn't?
But finding a compromise, maybe perhaps the person is working so much and they don't have time to just be home and having sex all the time. And maybe the other one is not, they're stay at home or.
If a guy was dating a woman and he stopped paying for dates, and she wanted him to pay for dates, would that be sufficient justification for her to dump him?
If that's her top 3 and she doesn't like it, then that's her. If it's free will, yes, she can.
Well, but so you indicated it was wrong for a man to dump his girlfriend if she regularly turns him down for sex. Let me change it a little bit. Let's say it's a dead bedroom and they're not having sex at all. And it's on her part, right? He wants to keep having sex, but she's not about it. Justified to break up or end the relationship. Then.
I would say, especially even for marriage, you're supposed to really work through things. It's till death do us apart. And to just really break something without working through it and trying to find a compromise or a middle ground, or maybe there's a reason why they're depressed, they're not really focusing in their sexual activity. There's so many things to talk through, then it's not just surface level black and white.
Well, sure, I guess there could be problems, but what if those problems are attempted to have been worked through and she still just doesn't want to have sex?
Then that's a problem. Yeah, that would indicate I would just end the relationship then.
But you would say it would be wrong to end the relationship for that reason.
I think I came from the perspective of, like, I've been in relationships before where I felt pressured to engage in sexual activity and I just didn't feel comfortable, and that was enough for them to be like, this is not going to go anywhere, and I felt pressured to give that to them to keep them around. And I don't think that's right. I think at the end of the day, like, a woman should be able to say no when she doesn't want to. And there's so much more to a relationship than just feeling ultimately drawn to sex. Like that.
Yeah, I agree with you that a woman should say no, and that should be 100% respected. But I don't think I would fault the man who entered into this relationship with the expectation that it would be a component of the relationship would be that it would be a sexual relationship, and then she's kind of walked this back. I don't think there's anything wrong with him him ending the relationship for solely that reason.
Now, question, you mentioned, let's say it's a dead bed. They're not having sex at
Yeah.
all. Did this happen since the start, or did it just happen towards the end? Or
I'd say it's usually a more progressive thing. So it's
Okay.
maybe the sex life was better, then it became worse, and then it became non-existent.
So to me, it sounds like they got into a relationship they were sexually compatible. Now something is happening within the relationship, within themselves or the relationship, that's causing this to happen.
What if the guy's not doing anything and it's just on her? It's just her part.
What do you mean?
I don't know. She just doesn't like, she's not into sex anymore. He's otherwise treating her just the same.
Is that like a
He's
common
doing-
occurrence for a person that's sexually active at the beginning to just suddenly be like, no? I don't think that's very common. I mean, I'm
think it's
sure
actually
there's
reported pretty frequently.
scenarios. I'm sure there's like not a never in that. Maybe there's a scenario in a case, but that's like an exception, I would say. And commonly, like there could be a relationship is through waves. You could be going through a financial instability, a job loss, a death of a family, and like you're not thinking about sex all the time. And
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, like, if, for example, like, your girlfriend is sick, like, let her recover. Like, you don't need to be pressing for, I think you can give somebody grace in moments of, even if you're horny, like, okay, she's, like, feeling really terrible. We don't need to have sex right now. But if it's like, if we're looking at a consistent pattern where she's otherwise okay, but she's not having sex as frequently as he would like, I don't see what would actually be wrong with him breaking up with his girlfriend.
To me, it's situational. If they are they talked about it, try to work through it, and it didn't work out, then it makes sense to break it
Yeah.
off. If it just, there was no conversation and they just abruptly ended things, I don't think that's fair.
Okay. And then Kyla, your position on this?
It would basically be like, it depends on why she's withholding sex, right? So if it's like to spite him, I think that's a pretty good reason to end your relationship. Like, that's a terrible relationship. If she just had, vaginal birth and she's in a fair bit of pain and needs time to heal, maybe
Sure.
even a fair bit of time, I think good partners are like patient for that. So it really depends on like what her reason is and what level of steps she's taken to like rectify that issue so that they can come back, because partners need to have sex with each other. It's a really important part of relationship.
Right. What is, I mean, this is a bit of a dicey conversation. What is the Christian perspective on this? So you guys are married. The wife doesn't want to have sex anymore.
I don't know what that is.
Like, do you believe in spousal rape? That would be like the question.
Essay. Let's try that.
No, I mean, I think that's the case, generally speaking, that Christians have a pretty good sex life. And if that were to occur and it was a problem, that's something that could be talked about independently with a priest. But then there's other aspects, like if someone's like sick, you mentioned, like let's say it's a terminal illness, I'm actually not sure what the pathway would be for expectation of sex, given that the person's not temporarily ill. Like, does it suddenly bring into question, do you have sick sex? Do you have like I don't know how that would work, honestly. I don't know the answer to that question for every single situation. Jay, do you?
I mean, there's the notion of the marital debt, which is the idea that in the marital relationship, both parties are expected to sacrifice and engage in things that the other party might not necessarily want, and that's expected when you go into the marital relationship. So there's going to be times when that happens with both partners, but I think that it's irrational, it's unreasonable to have the expectation that people should be always having sex, even in situations where it's like damaging or something like that. So no, there's all things within reason, and yeah.
Okay. Next thing, a woman's past should not matter, to which, Sophia, you agree And then Kelly, you agree.
Can I ask just a quick follow-up question? I'm pretty sure I'm just genuinely curious because I don't know the Eastern Orthodox answer to this. Do you guys believe that like spousal SA can exist? Like, can a wife for like, and assuming it's not medical, right? It's like other reasons. Can a wife say no to sex, and then the man still have sex with her anyways? Like, is that legitimate, or would that be viewed as bad? I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, she can do that, and the expectation is that the reasons are rational, that there's good foundation for that.
What if she's just like, I'm really not feeling it? Like,
If
she just
she
won't.
persists in that, that can become a case for there no longer being a marriage, for dissolving the
But
marriage.
he wouldn't be allowed to like have sex with her anyways,
You
despite
can't
what she said.
violate people's will in that way.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Woman's passion not matter. You agreed. Why is that?
I agree with it on both parts. Like, you just put women, but I think
Yeah.
like women and men's past should not matter. The past is the
Okay.
past. Can't do anything about it.
Sure.
It
What
happened.
about the consequences, though, like
What consequences?
of the past? You don't think that matters?
Or, like, what consequences?
Like people's actions, like who they've been with, if they've had kids with other people, like nothing in the past matters?
I mean, if we're talking about kids, like, obviously the kids are going to be a part of the picture. I guess I'm confused. Like, I'm just talking about, like, body count.
Like body
people
count,
you've been
okay.
with. Like, things you might have done that you wouldn't do now.
How would you determine that that doesn't have a consequence on you, let alone someone else?
You wouldn't, but I wouldn't judge somebody based on what they've done in the past.
Well,
You
what if
wouldn't
had AIDS or something?
That doesn't, okay, yes, okay, cool.
So consequences matter.
Does matter.
And then your answer why a woman's passion not matter.
I also
Bring
agree
out
that it should be
AIDS.
women and men. I just think anyone's past is their past.
Sure.
If you're focusing, obviously, no, I think you should definitely take into account, like, if it's a huge mistake they did, but I don't think if they're working through it and they're trying to change, what's
Well, I
there,
have
what's
just
there
three-
to keep bringing it up?
Three question, a couple questions for the both of you. So within the context of body count, right? Because I could give a bunch of examples, but when it comes to body count, to you, Sophia, would you date a guy who previously had sex with men?
Yeah, I mean, if they're bi.
You wouldn't have, yeah, sure, he's bi. You wouldn't have any issue with it.
No.
There wouldn't be some component of a man who just had, I'm not going to say it, but just had carnal knowledge of a man a week before meeting you.
That's sexuality. That would be that they're bi and they chose to be with a man, and now a week later they're choosing to be with a woman. I don't feel like
You wouldn't make any, like, so you would date a guy who
I would date
has-
a bi man. yeah.
Okay, fair. And then Kelly, would you date your old school and traditional? Would you date a guy who previously slept with men?
So I feel like the old school traditional, like it's being like labeled
Okay,
entirely for
forget
me.
that. That was just some banter.
No, I got you, but I would say yes. I'm open-minded towards sexuality.
Okay, so you would date a guy who gets
Had sex?
Has had sex. I
his-
have.
It's not
And,
sex. Pee-pee in the poo-poo.
Wait, you've had sex with
No,
gay
no,
men,
no, bisexual men.
bisexual. So
They're also gay.
The gay to me seems like they just only like men.
How about this?
Bisexual is like indicating.
would
all
you?
gender.
Past doesn't matter. Would you date a guy who cheated?
I did.
Sure you did, but is it your preference? Like, would you prefer to date a guy who has no history of infidelity, or a guy who has cheated on every single girlfriend he's been with?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to cheat. Be with the cheater.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, no, I can agree with like the cheater thing and all of that. I guess when I'm looking and answering that question, I'm not thinking that deeply into it. I was like
Okay,
thinking about
sure.
the rest of your questions.
Okay, but just to be clear, you guys would date a guy who gets fucked in the ass.
A bisexual man.
Just say, I want you to repeat after me. I will date and
I don't think it's that
S
crazy.
the D
You
of a
might
guy.
think it's crazy.
Well, no, you guys soften what it is. You try to make it like it's a sexuality.
guys-
It's not even sex.
All right.
It's
I'm
not sex.
getting into this.
What,
Are you
like,
just
gay
like
sex is-
sodomy?
It's
or whatever?
literally not sex.
Wait, you're saying gay sex is not
No,
sex?
it's not sex.
Is oral
Why?
sex not sex?
Not really.
So penetration is
What
not
is
sex
it?
of any kind.
It's like some type of sodomy or mutual masturbation.
Even if they reach orgasm, it's still not sex.
If I reach orgasm from banging a
You
refrigerator,
guys heard it
is
here.
sex?
If you want to be
It's
pure and stay a
masturbation?
virgin, just
If
fuck
I-
in the ass.
if I-
then you're
It's
safe.
sexual
No
activity?
sex
Can I
has
have
been
sex
had.
with a tree?
I disagree with you, Bob, on
If
this
you're
one.
Wait,
masturbating, yeah.
Can I? That's what I just said. Is masturbation sex? No.
It's sexual activity.
No, look, we're talking about intercourse,
Clinton.
what's
I
considered
did not
sex
have
between
sex
two
with that
people.
woman.
Okay? This is where the definition, you guys run with the definition and then soften what it actually is. And then it's a way of basically, you're basically making it ambiguous. Like you're making it like, oh, it's just this thing that they do. For instance, Kyla, are you like in favor of homosexuality?
What do you mean? Like, do I personally?
Well, because you say you're a Christian, right?
Yeah. Like,
Okay,
do I
cool.
think it's fine for other people to choose to be gay? Yeah.
Yeah, do you think a marriage between two dudes can be consummated with sodomy?
Like in a spiritual sense?
Yeah, in like a meaningful sacramental way.
Like at a spiritual level, I'm not sure if that would be viewed like legitimate. I'm not sure my theology on that specifically
not?
right now. Because I'm not sure if I'm convinced that at a Christian level that like two men can be like unified spiritually.
Why wouldn't you know that if you call yourself a Christian? I don't understand.
If you want to get into like the theology of it, there's like an important thing of understanding like what the key words were when they're talking about it and what they actually mean. We can like get into the Greek.
So a priest-
I don't want to get into a Greek Greek apologetics.
I have to move it on from
course.
this, but so going to Kelly, going to Sophia, if past doesn't matter, we're speaking about body count. Like, should men not care about body count, basically? Like your body count?
If they want to focus on it, that's on them. I think it's
Okay.
shallow.
It's shallow. What about you?
Are we really are we asking for people's body counts like when we're dating them? Like, are you
Sure.
going on a date and being like, "What's your body count?" before
Yes, we are.
you are?
First, not even before on the dating app. First
in
message.
there, yeah.
What's
It's
your
in the
body
bio.
count? You strumpet.
No, I don't care. I don't
Okay.
think it should matter.
So if past doesn't matter, what's your body count?
I've never actually counted.
We have time. Go ahead.
Do I have to?
Yes, you must.
Okay. 2 million.
I see that. You give off fucked a nation vibes.
Thank you.
The entire nation of Qatar.
Yeah, something like that. It's maybe like half of Norway, you know? So, do you want to give us the real answer, though?
I don't think past not mattering should be the reason that she outs herself to the
Well,
whole
hold on.
world.
Let's let her answer. It seems like she might answer, so go
I'm
ahead.
just saying I'm not going to answer.
I mean, I don't really. I'd rather not.
Do you want to do a range? It's like you could say between 200 and 300. Do you want to do that?
If we can all do it, then yes. Not just
I
me.
think all the women here will do that.
If they all do it, yeah. Why do I have
So
to be the
why don't
only
you
one?
go first?
Do you want to do a poll and see if all the women will actually do that? 'Cause
I'm
Yeah,
just.
I think men should be included.
I kind of believe they will. So
I think I heard Sophia
I don't
say
know.
that
I'm
she
not
wouldn't do it.
I feel like I don't know. That might have your.
I feel like you're trying to make her
You
do
know
it.
what consent is?
Oh my god! Do you know what consent is? I didn't consent for you to wear that necklace today.
It's free
you
will.
are
Free
necklace
will.
graping me right now. Okay, so anyways, I graping me with. Anyways, whatever. Do you want to do it or? No?
If we pull it.
Okay, I'll ask somebody else. Body count, going this way.
I refuse.
Do you want to do a range? Like 1 to. You don't have to get the exact number, but it's 10 to 20, something like that.
No.
Okay. What about you, Sophia?
I already said I wasn't going to.
Do you want to do a range? Is it over 10? Over
2. The 2 people I've dated.
Okay, sure. I believe it. What about you?
I would, but I prefer not to.
You, huh?
I would for the show.
Do it.
but I
Wait.
can't.
You're Lexi.
Sticking with
You're a
her.
homie.
Can't.
You're the homie.
I can't.
You're a big fan of the show. You gotta.
I know.
You gotta
no,
be the.
but going into it, that was the one question I didn't want to answer. Just
Range.
more out of
Do you
respect
want-
for people I date. I just don't know if I want. I'll tell them, but I just don't know if I want to.
Do you want to do a range? No. Okay. Kyla?
I'm just gonna stick with the girlies at this point. Yeah, no.
What? Oh my God, fucking solidarity. What about you?
I feel like
Be a fucking legend. Be a legend.
so I am voluntarily celibate. So I've been with like 10 to 15 max.
Guys, W's in the
Including
chat for 10
Well,
to 15.
I say the W is the opposite. I think it's progress that this show has progressively produced women who have acquired some level of maybe shame. Or maybe they don't want people to. Maybe it's the case that it actually does matter, that maybe there's a reason you don't want people to know that it's not just personal. I understand that aspect, but there is something about it that kind of has a sense of a devaluing for yourself. And this, I think this still applies to men. It's not in the same way, but I think it's a good thing for women to stop celebrating their body count or stop like even feeling like they should share it.
Let's test this. If I asked you off show later, would you tell me what your body count is? Would you be comfortable letting me know?
I'd rather not know.
Would you
Into-
let me
into
know
the mic.
privately?
I probably would, yeah.
Okay, so
I
Charlie.
just genuinely think it's none of anyone's business. Like I said, past shouldn't matter, which
How
means
about-
the number
okay.
shouldn't matter.
Gotcha. Would you share with me your body count privately off afterwards?
Would you share with me privately
No.
the body count?
Okay, so
Wait.
I don't know if it's shame that's doing this necessarily, right? Like
Well, I would
sometimes
say
it's
it
shame.
more is because of shame. Mine isn't insanely high, but I would say it 100% comes from a place of shame. I just think, I mean, for me, with my religious beliefs, I think anything outside of marriage is shameful.
Wait, are you
so-
Christian?
I'm Christian, yeah.
When you say you're religious, are you waiting until marriage?
That's something I'm trying to figure out. I kind of want to after the whole celibacy thing with the Muslim guy. I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should. But
How long
then,
have you been celibate?
Like a year and a half.
Year and a half, okay.
Years. Yeah.
Question though, if you were asked on a date privately, not on this podcast, if a guy genuinely asked you because he wanted to know what your body count is, would you then give the
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, what? I was thinking of a different question.
If you were on a date with a guy, you're not on a podcast, he's just asking you privately, would you give him the answer?
Oh, no.
You wouldn't?
No, I just said that I don't think it matters.
Right, but it matters to him.
Then I don't know what to tell him.
So let's say he's the perfect guy, but you don't know. I mean, I guess you could like try to suss it out by being like, well, what would be too high of a body count for you? Perfect guy, but in order for this courtship to progress, he wants to know, and he's going to want an answer. Would you tell the perfect guy your body count? And it could go either way. It could be like, he's like, that's acceptable, or it's not acceptable. So would you tell him then?
No.
Wait, you would lose out. So you'd lose out on the perfect guy, and he might be totally fine with your body count, but you don't know until after you tell it to him. You lose out on the perfect guy because you wouldn't want to reveal how many sexual
what
partners.
makes him so perfect? Like, why is he forcing me to tell him something?
I don't know. What's the perfect guy to you? Whatever that is, that's how perfect he is.
Also, if it didn't matter, you would actually say it. For instance, like, does it matter what type of like meals you like necessarily? Just like
What does that have to do with people?
what's your favorite meal?
What does that have to do with body
I'm
count?
giving you an example of something that doesn't actually matter. What's your favorite meal?
I don't think it matters.
High value traditional men don't ask those types of questions from the jump.
Well, no, I wouldn't want to.
actually-
I wouldn't want to ask that.
No, they don't.
I'm not.
They don't, Brian.
Yes, actually, I think a high-value traditional guy, this would be a perfectly acceptable metric by which he could make a determination as to whether
Yeah.
he'd want to
Are
date.
you dating anybody?
How would that be relevant?
I would grant you not off the jump, but eventually they're gonna.
Are
they're
you
gonna-
single, Brian?
Yeah, how would that be relevant to the argument at hand?
It's relevant because you're saying that this is a good metric, but if you're single, I'm saying like I'm not going to go to some homeless person for a class in real estate.
Are you pro-choice or pro-life?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm pro. It's none of my business. That's
So,
it.
okay, you're pro-choice.
That's it. That's the end. That's my argument.
So,
It's
okay,
none of my business.
I'll ask a different way. Are you fine with other women getting abortions?
It is none of my business. That is
What?
my
Is
that is
that
my
actually
answer.
your
I'm telling
position?
you that is my answer, and it's not changing. It is none of my business what other people
how about
do.
this? Do you, if there was a vote that the government, that it was a vote to the populace, the entire populace, yes, abortion should be legal, no, abortion should be outright banned. Do you say yes, abortion legal, or no, ban abortion?
Legal because it's none of my business.
Okay, so you're pro-choice, but you have that opinion on it, right?
It's none of my business. Yes.
Is there any position that you have, is there any topic that you have any position on?
Yeah, I think gay people should be allowed to marry. I think sex by saying that, for example, to go back, saying that sex between two men, for example, isn't actually sex. You're basically saying is rape. Oh my God,
if
a man
bro,
rapes.
essay.
No,
Stop,
sorry.
Stop. No, that's not true.
If a man essays another
Hold on,
man.
I'll stick it to the specific topic we're having though. So, do you have any political leanings whatsoever?
I do. I'm left leaning.
You're left leaning. Okay, what do you think
But
about the war in Ukraine? Like, is it bad?
I'm truthfully not informed on the war in Ukraine.
Okay, is war bad?
It depends if it's an objective evil like the Nazis in World War II.
It's none of your business.
I would say that war is justified.
She's given multiple opinions throughout this entire conversation.
Which means it is her business.
No, you can have
That's
the
a
opinion that
contradiction.
she wants to basically abstain from an opinion on one thing, right? Like you're
It's
allowed to do
it's a
that.
performative contradiction
It's not
that he
a
just.
performative
Yeah, it is. To
contradiction.
vote on something is to say it is your business because you're participating in a
She's
way that it
essentially
makes it
saying
your
it's
business.
free will. She would probably prefer it to be between the doctor and the woman, but she's
If
not
it
really
wasn't
interested
her,
in telling other
if it
people what
really
to do with their
wasn't
body.
any of your business, you actually wouldn't vote at all on it.
I would do my civic duty and vote.
So it is your business.
No.
What are you
No,
talking
it's,
about?
it's between a woman and her doctor.
Who's
But you're
your
voting
women
on
or
it.
their women? Them?
Like a woman and her doctor.
No, a stranger? Is that her business?
A woman and her
Is
doctor.
your vote is your vote
I'm giving you the answer.
Is your vote influencing another woman? Her business?
If my side wins, then yes. I suppose.
So it is your business. There's no way escaping this.
I'm just trying to say that, like, if somebody has an abortion, they shouldn't have to tell anybody or justify it.
Look, the point I
Really?
was trying to make, the point I was trying to get at is you're trying to say, well, Brian, are you currently in a relationship? Because who are you to speak on this? So in any case, you're pro-choice, right? So you're in favor of abortion.
You
So
can frame it that way, yes.
sure, I'll just go ahead and frame it that way. Have you had an abortion?
No.
Okay, so why are you allowed to make a determination on whether abortion should be legal or not, despite you never having had an abortion? In that same way, that was a rhetorical question. In that same way, my personal relationship status would have no bearing on my ability to make a determination as to like what would be perhaps good conduct on someone else's behalf.
No traditional woman will ever wear her body count on her sleeve.
Would a traditional so?
I'm saying that you guys seem to you guys want traditional women. No traditional woman will ever tell you her body count on the first date. That's maybe like third or fifth date, but the first date,
Well, I mean,
you're tripping.
if we take it to the ultimate, I mean, a traditional woman would be a virgin. Like if we look at the ultimate manifestation of like a traditional woman, she would be a virgin. Her body count would be 0. I don't see why she would be.
Well, there's also traditional women that fuck up according to their own worldview, right?
Yeah, I think you can still be a traditional woman and not be a virgin. But this idea that the traditional woman would not share her body count is dubious.
I disagree.
Why? Okay, why?
Because why should somebody have to say that on the first date? That's not
Nobody
real.
said on the first date.
Yeah,
That's what
just
she's
No,
been
you
saying
said
the
the
whole
first
time.
date.
Sure, I'll
You
take
said
the
the first
position.
date. You guys
I'll
have been
take the
saying the
position.
first date
Yeah, I think it's totally fine to ask. It's fine to ask before the first date.
before.
Yeah, if you're messaging or something, you can ask that before.
You know what? I agree with you on that. That way I can unmatch you quick as fuck the moment you ask that.
If you were a woman who also was like, yeah, I think body count matters, I don't think most women are going to have an issue with that question being asked.
I'd be
I
pretty
think
weird
most
with that.
people
What's your
have an
body
issue with
count?
that.
so it does matter.
They have an issue with it because it's a
Asking the
reflection.
question? Yeah.
It's a reflection of your own promiscuity.
Well, what's your body count, Brian?
How would that matter?
Because I'm asking
I want to
you.
hear from the
Let's
guys.
say it's 1,000. Why would it matter?
Give me a real body count. You asked for her real one?
If it was 1,000 or if it was 0, why would it matter?
Exactly.
No, I'm saying why would
Saying
it
for the
matter
argument.
as it pertains to my argument?
It doesn't.
Do you think? Okay. Do you think murdering somebody is bad?
Body count doesn't
Do you
matter.
think murder is bad?
That's crazy.
Yes.
Have you ever murdered somebody?
No,
Oh, so why are you allowed to have an opinion on murder if you haven't murdered somebody?
because it's bad.
Look, if body count, it's really simple. If body count didn't matter, and someone you're texting someone for a potential date, and they also thought it didn't matter, but their position was because it doesn't matter, I could ask it. It's either or. So why wouldn't you just answer it?
Well,
then?
she already conceded that you could ask it by third or fifth date.
No,
Like,
but she said
that's
I would
explicitly
unmatch,
what she said.
right?
It'd be really weird
If
if,
it
on
doesn't-
Tinder, within like the first 2
Kyla,
hours of talking to
it's
somebody,
her
they ask your
position.
body count.
It's her position.
Yeah,
Hold on
she
a
said
second.
it would be weird.
I know you're talking for her. That's weird. So
Not really. You two
would
have
you
been
like to?
you
Would
two
you
have been
like
You wanna
to
speak
puppet
for-
her?
You wanna
Hold
speak for
on.
everybody?
Here,
Number
talk
one,
for everyone.
you said that I'm the exception because I'm the debater, so it's reasonable
You're
enough that when you're
exceptionally
attacking
annoying.
the
Shut
other
up for a
women,
second.
you also both
Shut
of you have
your
been
mouth
bandying
for a
back and forth
second.
together when you get stuck on a question. So it's
I'm-
completely reasonable that I
It's
can
her
answer and
position.
help her out with her answers
Okay.
when she's dealing with people
It
who
sounds
debate.
like you're saying on the like early on, it's very aggressive, right? It's like personal, right? I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but if it doesn't matter, like it's almost like how would it be different than saying, what's your favorite color? That doesn't really matter either.
I can say that later on, as you get to know the person, it should be a conversation worth discussing.
So it doesn't matter.
But on the very first date,
Yeah,
or
forget
even
the-
before
yeah,
that,
yeah,
absolutely not.
Fine. But you are agreeing that it does matter because it actually warrants a type of conversation.
Not does matter. When I say does matter, I don't mean it does matter as in that's a make or break. I'm saying it does matter as in if that truly is something you care about, as I get to know you, I'm open to sitting down, having a need conversation and talking to you about it.
Is hookup culture good or bad?
It's bad.
It's bad. Okay. So why would a conversation which would tend to move a person away from wanting to date somebody who engaged in hookup culture, this would be a form of social shaming. Why would it be viewed, if you were like, oh, yes, hookup culture bad, promiscuity bad, why would it be bad for a guy who's essentially saying, I don't want to date a woman who engaged in hookup culture or who is or was promiscuous?
You're basically saying something's bad, but you're saying there shouldn't be any consequences. Why shouldn't there be any consequences to something that's bad?
Like, I'm so sorry. Can you say that one more time?
If it's bad, if hookup culture is bad, and as Brian explained, if the consequence of something bad is that men want to know if you've been a part of something bad, right? To make they're basically going to make a choice. And maybe women will make the same choice with men. If it is in fact bad, if we agree hookup culture is trash, bad things would have consequences. But how would you even that basically means we're totally warranted and justified in digging in if you're participating in something bad. It seems reasonable.
And if I can piggyback off of what Jim Bob said, unless you wanted to give a response to him.
I'll see what you have to say too.
So to piggyback off this, actually, the framing I would give is as follows. A guy who's interested in asking you these sort of screening questions, what's your body count, or other screening questions as it relates to your past, means that he's generally angling for long-term relationship, or he's not, don't take this word the wrong way, I'll just say he's marked you as a potential long-term prospect. So this should actually perhaps even be viewed, my framing of it would be, this is actually a flattering question, because a guy who just wants to fuck you probably doesn't care what your body count is. But a guy who's angling for long-term relationship probably is a little more invested in your past promiscuity. If he's inquiring as to your past, he's probably a little more invested in long-term relationship, and he's maybe more long-term,
No, it's okay.
it's getting late here, so I'm kind of fumbling over my words a little bit, but he's more interested in a long-term relationship with you. So you can be offended by it, but I think the actual framing I would provide here is he's actually doesn't just want to fuck you if he's asking about your body count.
I disagree, and I would still unmatch him.
Even though he might be a higher value man by his concerns.
I don't care.
Interesting.
So I think having a guy who's willing to potentially lose a woman by having these sorts of important, at least in his view, important conversations, I actually think that that's high value conduct in and of itself. A guy who's just like, I really don't want to lose her. I'm not going to ask her any questions that might offend her, or I'm not going to make any, I'm not going to state anything that might offend her at risk of losing her, even though this thing is something that I want in a relationship, or this thing is something that I value. I think that would be high value behavior insofar as, I'm willing to lose the girl because this is a boundary and a preference and a standard that I want in a woman. And if she doesn't meet it, then I don't want her. But I'm willing, even if I otherwise would like the girl, but her refusal to answer the question would then preclude her from my romantic pursuit, he's willing to pass up on a woman under these circumstances. I think that would be high value. A guy who's pressed for pussy and who's willing to sacrifice on his wants and desires in a relationship, I think that's low value behavior. Also, I don't like the high value, low value
Metric.
terminology. It's kind of cringe, but just for the sake of the convo, I'll use it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Saying that, oh, you don't want to answer body count, that precludes you from being a long-term partner. I accept. Those terms are agreeable. That's it.
Okay.
What about other things in a person's past? Like do you
what?
think that, like, what if he had a background like addicted to gambling or something like that? Would that matter?
Chopped, gone. We're not dating. Unless there's an unless. Is he actively, like, does he acknowledge this is a problem and I'm in, like, doing something about it?
So you're concerned with his past,
I mean,
but just not in body count.
Gambling, yes.
Is he
because
obligated to tell you if he had a gambling problem, and by when?
Probably when he starts, like, when we start mingling our money together. Sure, that's when I have a problem with it, is like when our money starts becoming, like, his
So
money starts
let me
becoming
ask
mine.
you, is it fair for you to match up with a guy and then you say, I'm sorry, this is out of nowhere, but do you have a gambling problem? Out of nowhere. You just asked that. Would it be fair for him to answer yes or no at that point?
I mean, he can answer, he can not. It's up to him. I see nothing wrong with.
But asking is justified?
Has he given me a reason to suspect that he has a
No,
gambling
no,
addiction?
you just know. No, you just kind of know for some reason you have in the back of your mind as a one of the things that you want to avoid. Yeah, it could be past-based thing. Like you're just like, I want to know if you have a gambling problem, and he's like, that's random. Is he like he's gonna be? You know, you're putting him on the spot, right? Mm-hmm. But we're using this example because if you just swap the gambling and reverse it, and a man is asking. Essentially, a very similar question, actually. Do you have a gambling problem? Because promiscuity is a gamble in itself. So, so it's like, do you have a gambling problem with your vagina? Is what he's asking, right? And so, if it's fair to ask the man if he has some sort of background problem that has consequences, they should be able to ask the same thing back.
I'm going to ask him if he likes it rough.
What the? Men don't want to marry the town bicycle. It's really that simple. Somebody sent this in to me to perhaps help me. This will help me better explain this a little bit. But so basically, when it comes to this, like these guys not asking you questions to potentially screen you out, essentially women are just. And I'm reading from his message he sent me. It's not a super chat, but it's really good, so I want to read it. Basically, women are just really used to dealing with thirsty, white knight simp men. They're going to placate you for even the chance of a breadcrumb of pussy. If they actually challenge you on anything or take a position you disagree with that reduces his chance of sleeping with you, like if you're some liberal chick and start talking about how you want open borders or want to give 10-year-olds puberty blockers or whatever retarded worldviews you have, if a guy wants to sleep with you, he's not going to challenge you on that. And that's for two primary reasons. They want to sleep with you and don't want to upset your worldview at the risk of losing out on the chance at pussy. And then there's just social ramifications for men who communicate these things. So basically, a guy who, it just goes back to my point of if the guy's actually willing to ask you a question that might offend you, it would point towards him being willing to lose you, which I think is probably would be considered, I hate this fucking term, high value.
It's a man with options.
Well, it's a man with conviction as well.
Yeah.
It shows that
Yeah.
he's stable in his convictions and his worldview and his morals and his ethics, which is, you know, coincidentally, what women end up looking for once they figure out they want to settle down because, you know, they're reaching that age and they realize that, you know, their life's not going to actually turn out the way they thought it was when they were 22.
We have some chats coming through.